When was the last time you took a leap of faith, trusting that everything is going to work out? Do you crave growth, or are you merely content with the status quo? If you want more out of your life, out of your career, and out of your relationships, you are in the right place. Take the leap and discover how to create a life by design rather than living it by default. Real success starts with you. Now here's your host, Colleen Biggs.
Hello, listeners, and welcome back to another episode of Take the Leap. I am your host, Colleen Biggs, and we are really celebrating the holidays and the new year and all of the goals that everybody is setting. And I want to ask everybody out there, are you doing the same things over and over again and expecting a different result, like that whole insanity thing? Like, oh, you're setting the same goals for next year, and yet you didn't hit those goals this year, but you're not changing anything that you're doing next year, or in 2024. So I'm going to ask you the question, are you willing to do something different for you to be able to reach those results? We have the 12-week year that has always been a great support for anyone who's looking to set goals in a shorter period of time. So instead of setting goals for an entire year, you set them for 12 weeks. So make sure you look out for that on our website at ColleenBiggs.net, and you can join our 12-week year. So I have Marianna Kinnee here today, and we're going to be talking a lot about might in motion. So that would be motivation, momentum, mindfulness, might. And you might ask yourself, I haven't heard the word might in a while. What does that really mean? Am I plugging all 4 or 5 of these areas into my year and the goals that I'm setting? And am I bringing all of this to the table? Well, we're going to dig in with Marianna in just a few minutes. But before we do, I do want to thank today's sponsor of our podcast, at Phoenix Drone Pros. At Phoenix Drone Pros, we love what we do and are passionate about each and every drone photography and video shoot. We've been in business since 2017, and our talent and skills shows in the video production we deliver. We offer fast service for commercial real estate, movies, events, and construction site monitoring. We also provide drone virtual tours and training that are all the rage right now. These virtual tours are great for team building and entertainment. Contact us today at phoenixdronepros.com to schedule your shoot online or get more information. We capture everything, and we are now franchising. So reach out for info on how you can purchase your own drone company today. Thank you, Phoenix Drone Pros, for being the sponsor of today's show. All right. Marianna, here we go. Marianna Kinnee is the founder of Might in Motion, LLC. Marianna mentors corporate American managers who need help navigating their personal and professional goals to manifest them into their deserved career and life path. She spent over 2 decades as a leader at a Fortune 50 company. She's been married for 10 years, has 2 daughters. Her passion is helping others build legacies. She hosts the Might in Motion podcast and recently published her first book, Might in Motion: Motivation, Momentum, Mindfulness, and Might. Marianna, welcome to today's show.
Colleen, thanks so much for having me. I've been looking forward to this for a long time.
Yeah, well, you host your own podcast, so you know what it's like and how great it is for all of us to be able to not only use the platform for ourselves to be able to get our voices out there, but also have guests and utilize other platforms, because it really provides a great digital SEO for yourself online, right? And where do people go when they want information? They're going to go to books. They're going to go to podcasts. They're going to go to radio shows. They're going to go to seminars. So when you have all of these as part of your portfolio of how you get visibility for yourself, it's like one of the best things we can do, right, Marianna?
I totally agree. I have probably become a little bit of a podcast junkie myself, because I love listening to great podcasts when I'm on the way to the gym, when I'm in the gym, when I'm on the way back, or I'm on a walk, right? I want to feed my brain with information from so many different sources. And I think podcasting is a really great way to go and get that information. Your podcast, for example, is on my rotation, right? So I am a longtime listener, follower, subscriber, all the things, because I want to be able to continue to feed myself with really cool, inspirational information and all the good things. Right. So I love podcasts.
Yeah, I'm going to ask you that question because I'm the same way. If I'm in my car, if I'm on a walk, any time that I can't have a book in my hand, right?
Yeah.
I want to feed something audio. And I do that because it does provide inspiration and motivation, but it also provides education. Right now, I'm in this financial literacy kind of spiral where I want to learn everything about real estate investing, which means I have to learn a lot about financial literacy, and it goes really, really, really deep. So I've been reading and listening and, following podcasts and doing all of that because I want to learn more. I find that, Marianna, maybe there aren't as many people out there that are doing the same thing that we're doing. Why do you do it? Why do you constantly want to fill your brain and your mind with this information?
For me, it was kind of a pivot, I guess, I made a few years ago. So it all started, I want to say about 5 years ago. I went on a huge fitness journey. So I was about 50 pounds heavier than what I am now. And I had spent most of my life in more of an overweight space, had a little bit of a health scare. And I realized I can't even keep up with my kids on a hike. Like not going up a steep old mountain, right? This is just a flat hike. And that terrified me. So I said, okay, let me go on this journey. And I went on a fitness journey and really focused a lot on my mental state as it tied to that. And that then led to, well, how can I learn more? And who are people I want to listen to? Well, I knew I was going to go for a walk, or I knew I was going to go to the gym. I wanted to start putting more into my brain than just music. So when I first started, it was a year of just listening to music, right? And it was probably a lot of rage music. I was born in the 70s, late 70s. So that means I'm an 80s, 90s music fan, right? So it was a lot of, Nirvana and all those things that are great. But when that's all you're listening to day in and day out, it's like, wow, this isn't putting anything positive. So I started making this pivot of listening to podcasts that people recommended, and they were transformative. It started with, relationship podcasts. It started with some health podcasts, and now it's turned into business and current events, right? Like I hardly turn on the news for my news. I turn to different podcasts because I feel like I'm getting something that's a little less filtered. Right. And I can get a variety too. So that was my big pivot of saying, hey, I needed to just have something else input into my brain. So it was more than just the physical of what am I eating? Like, how am I changing my diet? How am I changing my brain diet as well?
Yeah, that's huge. The mental has everything, is the driver, right? Because that's our motherboard of our bodies, and that's huge. But when you listen to music, it takes you back to memories, so it kind of puts you in the past. And I feel like when we listen to information that is something that's feeding our brain something new, it kind of moves us in this motion. And it's one of your words is momentum. You get this momentum. And how did momentum come into play for you with your health journey? Because that's a transformative journey that is continuous.
Yes. So for me, I started off really small. It's like that one step in front of the other, right? So for me, it was, okay, can I take the dog for a walk to the corner? Now can I go to the next one? Now can I walk the whole neighborhood? And it wasn't like, oh my God, now I'm just going to go run a marathon. No, it's how do I start gaining those daily things that starts propelling you forward? And it's really easy to see that, or easier to see that when you're on a fitness journey, right? It's like, oh, well, can I add a half a pound to, the rack? Can I run 2 seconds faster for this distance? So it's a little bit easier when you think about that from a physical space. Now I've started to pivot that to other parts of my life. And how do you start gaining momentum in maybe your relationships with a spouse or with your kids or at work with your team that you're leading? You're not going to all of a sudden go from a toxic team to like the best number one team ever. That doesn't happen overnight. It takes these incremental steps And sometimes that step might be lateral or a little bit down, right? And you have to start forgiving yourself for that. So I think that for me, it was pivotal to start that in a physical realm. And then I was able to pivot that into relationships and leadership.
Yeah, I mean, there's measurable pieces because obviously if you're feeling happier, if your spouse is happier, if you feel like you're getting more time together, if your kids, they're watching us more than they're listening to a word that comes out of our mouths. And so this health journey, I know already has affected their lives, right? Because they've seen you do something and stick to it, right? And keep that momentum. Why might emotion? Tell me what might is like how did that word come up for you? Why might in motion?
So obviously I like alliteration. So I like the letter M. So it's just the first one in my name, right? Mm-hmm. That made it easy. But for me, that might was, I want to be empowered. I want, when I talk about legacy building, like you said in the intro, I want to have my daughters to see that they can be empowered to have that fierceness. And I think might to me has this more solid and well-rounded tone to it, meaning I could be mighty on a battlefield, but I could also be a mighty source of strength and comfort to someone, right? It's just, it to me, it just translates across so many different aspects of our lives. There's obviously the physical might, like, can I go lift heavier? Can I run farther, faster, etc. And so it just transcended so many different things that were important to me. And I wanted to start with that. And then the motion is, if you aren't kind of moving, then you're staying still. You can never get there if you don't leave here, right? So I love that concept too of there needs to be motion towards whatever your goal is.
Yeah, you can never get there if you don't leave here.
Yeah.
That was beautifully said. So it reminds me of Mighty Mouse. Did you watch the cartoon?
Yes.
I was born in the early 70s. And Mighty Mouse was one of the cartoons I used to watch in the morning. And he was tiny but mighty. Yes. And I think I related to him because I'm a tiny person. I really am. When people meet me off of Zoom, they're like, "You're as big as a minute." I'm like, "That's about right." Yeah. I'm like barely over 5 feet, and I weigh like 105 pounds. So I'm not a very big person. And so that just kind of, I thought like he could do big things, right? I thought a Mighty Mouse could do big things, that you don't have to be big to do big things. That was kind of my first thing growing up that I thought about. But when I think of the word might, that's kind of what I think about. Like that might is that kind of strength behind that. And then you mix motivation into this recipe. So where does the motivation come from? To
me, that it's your ultimate why. Like, why are you wanting to do what you're wanting to do? And we forget to ask why. When we were kids, and probably when you were watching Mighty Mouse, you were probably the kid that was like, "But Mom, why? Why? Well, why is this? Why is that? Why is that?"
And my grandkids. Oh my gosh. I forgot that stage. And my grandkids now, but why, Grandma? But why, Grandma? But why, Grandma? And I'm like, oh my gosh, I forgot about this stage where they just ask why.
We forget,
everything.
Right? It's like almost, I don't want to say beaten out of us. I kind of can't say that, but it's discouraged, right? Because at a point, it's just like, just Google it.
I don't know. It was beat out of me because I was beaten when I was a kid.
Now I don't beat it out of my kids. I Google it. I'm like, I don't know. Hey, Siri, like answer my question. I have no idea why anymore. But we forget our ultimate why, right? We forget what's really motivating us to maybe make a career change. Or
what motivated you to go on a health journey? What was the motivation behind it?
Yes, the big thing for me was I wanted to be able to be active for my kids.
There you go.
I was full stop. And it was beyond just like, it was something outside of me. It was something that I saw that I needed to have longevity, right? I've made career changes in my career because I wanted to learn something new. I wanted to be uncomfortable. Why did I want to be uncomfortable? Like most people just want to stay in a comfort zone, right? But for me, it was like, no, if I'm too comfortable, that means I'm not progressing and my team isn't progressing.
Yeah, you crave growth.
Yes.
Obvious, yeah.
Right. And you create opportunities for others when you're able to go and move and do something completely different, right? It may be in the same company, it may be a completely different industry, but you have to be able to figure out what that ultimate why is for whatever goal you're going after, right? And so you may have 4 goals. So I like to think of things as, like there's like a fitness side, there's a spiritual side, there's a relationship side, there's a professional side. And you talked about your 12-week, the 12-week year. If you have too many goals in those 12 weeks.
Oh, no, it's a 1 to 2 goals, 12 weeks. That's it. That's all you're able to focus on.
I love that.
There's a lot of tasks that go into play every single week. And then you're responsible for measuring those and being accountable to those. So 1 to 2 goals, that's it. If you had 5, there's no way. But I love that anchor. The anchor is the why. Why are you doing it? If you didn't have the anchor to tell yourself, I want to be physical out there with my girls, I always want to be able to do this. And as they get older, they're just going to become more physical and be able to do more. And I won't be able to keep up with them. That to you was motivation enough to move you and keep that momentum going, because it ties back to something greater than you.
Yes.
And goals have to be exactly the same way. Yes. It's how we start the 12-week year. It's not something I made up. It's the 12-week year is the book. And all I do is take the book and say, I'm going to bring women together to help them create their goals within 12 weeks and achieve them. And we're going to follow the basics of the book. It's pretty simple in how we do that. It's not reinventing anything. So that's what you did for yourself. You just created that why, which gave you it almost fuels the might, right? Yes. The motivation fuels the might.
It's a flywheel, if you think about it, right? So as you build on all those 4 pieces, and I think of it like 4 legs of a stool, right? If any one of those is short and 3 are level, okay, you probably still got a good seat. But once you get down to 2 not being level, you don't have a seat at the table anymore. And that can have a big impact on a career too, right? So if you aren't finding where you can go and grow in all those areas, those 4 main areas, then you're kind of, you're going to continue to topple, right? And that's not good.
Yeah, you talked about the spiritual. So is that where your mindfulness comes in, or are those 2 different things for you?
Yeah, that's where mindfulness definitely comes in. Now, some people, like I believe in God. I'm a Christian, like that. I spend time every morning. Well, now I do. That's actually been one of my pivots. Like I said, okay, I'm gonna read the Bible every morning, and I'm gonna spend time every morning just meditating on it. And that's been huge for me, just to be quiet, read it, and then be quiet, right? And just try to listen. Some people, like, they may not believe in God, but they believe in a bigger spirit, or they may just believe in some sort of higher power or an energy that moves things. And no judgment here, like whatever is like that spiritual side to you, that mindfulness side, if you don't have the ability to focus and have time to listen, then you're always going to get in your own way, right? It's been really cool. Like even just this week, I'll tell you this week. So I haven't shared this with anybody, so I'm going to share it with you, Colleen.
Good.
So I do my meditation, right? And I listen, and then I write down what the words are that come in that meditation. Right. So Monday it was be open. Yesterday it was it matters. And today was peace. So I'm like, holy cow. So if I'm open because that matters so much, peace comes. Right. And it's just these simple words that now I can reflect on for the week and see what does that grow over the next 4 days, and what is that kind of message that I can lean into. So and I would never have had that this week if I had not taken literally 15 minutes of just quiet.
Yeah. I think that so many people feel like they have to do, rush. And there's no time. I've met many mothers that will tell me, oh, I don't have the time to get up in the morning. The baby's up. And I'm like, you need to get up before the baby and have 15 minutes to yourself. Like that could change your life, just that 15 minutes. So I love that you shared that you not only pray or read scriptures, but then you sit and quiet and listen. And the one common denominator of all high performers and extremely wealthy people are that they sit and meditate, because it creates the quiet creates neural pathways in our brain.
Yes.
It's extremely healthy for you to sit and do that. But it's also reflection too. And a lot of people will say, yeah, but I can't quiet my brain. It's like, just focus on the breathing, just focus on being quiet, focus on the breathing. What do you do as a tactic for you to keep your brain from wandering and going?
No, that's great, because I've struggled with this, and it's like anything else. Practice helps, right? And I am not perfect. I'm still practicing. But one of the things I've shifted recently is I go to a chiropractor, and I have to do like neck stretches, where you're laying on like this rolled thing and your head's back, and, it's kind of uncomfortable. So I have to do that for 15 minutes anyway. So now I have to be in this position. So I've combined them too. We talk about, you've probably read habit stacking and all that, right? And so that helps me, because now I have this physical trigger that I can go back to. And then when I feel my mind is wandering still, I repeat to myself, just open my mind, open my heart, open my ears. Right? Because if I say that over and over again, it's like that mantra.
That's what you're focusing on. Yeah. You're actually focusing on opening those areas.
Right. Though some people do the meditation. I've done that before too. And right now, this seems to be working for me, but it's all trial and error. Experiment. What might work for me doesn't work for you, Colleen, and it might not work for somebody else. You mentioned not having enough time, and I journal every day. It might just be a sentence or two. When I find myself writing down, I did not have enough time today. I didn't have enough time. I don't have enough time. That triggers me to go do 75 hard. I don't know if you've ever done 75 hard, but what
is 75 hard?
Okay. So it's Andy Frisella has this, it's a mental grit program, and it's 75 days of no alcohol. You take a progress picture every day. You stick to some sort of diet. There's no cheat meals. There, you read 10 pages of a book every day, real book, not audiobook, real book. And there's 2 workouts, 45 minutes apiece. They have to be separated. So you can't go do an hour and a half, right? One of them has to be outside. 75 days. When you stick, you got to do it. It's not one of those things I'm going to try. No, you just say, I'm going to go do it. And that's what I do over the past few years. If I find myself saying that, I'm like, all right, it's time to go do another round of 75 hard. Not for the physical piece at all, for the sheer fact that it forces me to time block, to be able to get everything in, and to reprove to myself and tell myself truth, right? Like I'm holding my commitment.
Yeah.
And then my body says, oh, wait, you're telling me the truth. I can believe in you. I can go do this. So yeah, that's what I do when I find myself going down that spiral, because it's hard. It's hard. The kids are they're going a million miles a minute. Like everybody has jobs. I mean, you got the husband, you got the 2 dogs, you got life. It forces me anyway to realize there is enough time in the day if I stop being distracted by, this.
Yeah.
Right. And let me turn that off. It's been interesting.
Yeah. No, it sounds amazing. And it's just excuses. It's always an excuse. It's always going to be an excuse of, I don't have enough time. It's interesting because everybody has the same amount of time every single day. We both have 24 hours. Yep. The entire world has 24 hours. So what are you doing with the 24 hours? Right. How are some able to be more productive or make more happen? And then why are you over here complaining as the victim that you don't have enough time? Right. So yeah, you take accountability and responsibility. And going back to the mindfulness and the spiritualness of what you talked about, Jen Sincero, she's one of my favorite authors because she makes me laugh because of the way that she writes. And she's great to listen on Audible as well. But she says, hey, if you haven't jumped on the spiritual train, you better jump on the train now. because your life will be a lot easier if you do. And she says, I don't really care what you believe in, God, spirit, Buddha. She goes on and on and on. Universe, whatever you want to call it, call it. She said, just jump on the train. And so that's how I feel. I have always been raised to believe in God. I was raised to believe that God was good. I have met women and interviewed them here on our podcast where they were raised to fear God, in a world where it was fearful to have this God, and I couldn't imagine what that would be like. So every single one of us might have a different belief, but I say have a belief. It doesn't matter what it is, just have one and let that spirit of what you believe in be your companion and partner in this journey to drive you, to fuel you, to comfort you, to help give you answers when you need it, right? And so tap into that, whatever that is for you. Tap into it.
Have you ever read The Four Agreements?
Oh, yeah.
I love that. I read that at least once a year.
Yeah.
Once a year. And even when I'm not doing 75 hard, I'm still reading at least 10 pages a day of something.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I'm a book reader. I like to sit in the morning. I love to get a cup of coffee. I love to go chill in my office. I have furniture in my office, like a chair and a sofa. And I sit, with my robe on in the morning because it's cold now and the windows are open. So I'll sit with a cup of coffee and a book. And I spend half hour to 45 minutes reading, and I love it. I have books just stacked all over my office everywhere. And I was never a book reader before. I was always an Audible, but I love the tangible books. I mark them up. I have little tabs all over them. And Think and Grow Rich, I read at least twice a year. It's like kind of this manual that I just keep going back through. I give them away as gifts a lot at my retreats and to my clients, because it's kind of the basic book for anyone in life and starting a business and just kind of understanding that thoughts are things. That very basic, like what you think about comes about.
It does. And I mean, I purposely now, like I because I've gone through this whole 5-year-long journey, I purposely try to put positive thoughts in my mind before I go into a meeting. Whereas before I might have said, oh, I got to meet with that person and it's going to be so hard and there's going to be combative and it's going to be negative and all the things. Now I go into no, it's going to be a positive meeting and I'm going to have success. I'm going to have the right words to say. And oh my God, imagine that. You have the meeting and it's positive because what you put out energy wise is what you're going to get right back.
That's
right. So it's been pivotal in my career as well as in my personal life.
So Might in Motion, motivation, momentum, mindfulness, and might. Where can we find that? On Amazon?
I muted myself, apologize. But yes, you can find it on Amazon. You can also go to my website, mightinmotion.com.
Okay.
There's links there. There's links to all my socials there. You can drop me an email from there, or you can email me directly at Marianna, Marianna at mightinmotion.com.
Yeah, I love that. And we'll make sure that we have all the information at their fingertips below. So they have that. I would say definitely connect with Marianna on LinkedIn and just let her know you heard her on the Take the Leap podcast and, connect with her. She'll directly connect back with you. And I love to follow individuals on social media as well, like Instagram, just to see what they're up to, kind of get a little more into their life, find out, what they're doing and the success they're having or the lessons that they can teach me. Or sometimes, it's just about beautiful photos or, family life. I love that kind of stuff. And it makes me feel a little closer and a little bit more connected to those individuals. So I'm going to highly recommend that everybody go to Instagram and follow you at Marianna Might in Motion on Instagram. But mightinmotion.com, they can grab your book from there as well. We'll drop the link for the Amazon link for them to get that book as well. And Marianna, thank you so much for being on this show. So tell us, what book are you reading right now? What's your favorite book?
I actually just finished a book called Traction. I finished it this morning. So I haven't picked which one is going to be my next one that's up there. So these are all my unread books that you see up behind me. So I've got to figure out which one I'm going to grab for tomorrow morning. But I just wrapped up Traction, which was really cool. It was about businesses and how do you run your business and how you set up, your goals as far as who do you have in the right place for the right seat, right? And then your goals for your organization and, your weekly, monthly, quarterly discussions to ensure that you stay on track. So if you have an organization where you have employees, we sometimes get really comfortable, and it talks about how you should not be comfortable, and those discussions and going after the rocks that are the most important initiatives, you have to continue to evaluate and reassess and all that. So that was a really good book that I literally just wrapped up. One of my favorites we mentioned earlier, I read the 4 Agreements at least once a year. It's been pivotal for me in my relationships. And so I have to remind myself, because it is hard. It's hard not to take things personally and all the things. So that's something that I like to reread and just remind myself of some really good habits to have that help you in your relationships.
Well, I mean, to my listeners, you're the only you that's ever going to be, you're the only you that ever was, right? You're the only you that's ever going to be. So knowing that, what are you going to do with what you've got? What books are you going to read? Are you going to stay stagnant and not grow and stay comfortable, or, not feel healthy, or not feel like you can go on a hike with your kids? What are you going to change in 2024 for you to become a better version of you? And like Marianna said, and really, drilled the point, was just take one step at a time. Don't, that's why the gyms are full in January, February, and they're empty by March, because everyone puts this plan together that they're going to eat, keto or whole foods or raw foods and no dairy and no this and no gluten.
Right.
They're going to go work out 5 times a week. And I'm like, no, you're not. That'll last a week and then you're done. So what is the first thing you can do? If it's taking a walk with your dogs, like Marianna did, down to the corner, or putting on your gym shoes and clothes and wearing them for the day, that could be the first step. Yeah. I always say take it slow and then ease into it. And then it just becomes a habit. And that's James Clear's Atomic Habits book, which exactly what we're talking about. One of his steps was just put your gym clothes on, just start there. So I'm so glad you were on the show today, Marianna. You're a wealth of information talking about the motivation and the momentum and might and mindfulness. Those are just amazing words for us to have as we are embarking in 2024, and what that year can bring each one of us, right? We have to shut out kind of what's happening a lot, because you're getting this filtered bad news all the time. I don't watch the news. I haven't turned on the TV and watched the news in over like 3 or 4 years. I just couldn't do it anymore. I was done with it. So what could you change in your life in 2024 that can help you really keep that bigger why, what you're anchored toward, for you to be able to be might emotion? I love that, Marianna. So thank you for that. All right, everyone. Thank you for joining us again. Until next time, do not forget, be you and be strong. Until then, bye-bye for now.
Thank you for joining us on this journey of self-discovery, where you learned the tools to create a life by design. Remember, you are the only you there is, and you are the only you that will ever be. Be you and be strong, because you are brilliant, and the world needs you at your best. We cannot wait for you to join us again next time.